Hello, welcome back to another morning draw with Rand Hamilton. My name is Rand Hamilton, and we are going to be continuing on with the piece we started yesterday with my son running around the background. Come on. Okay, yeah. Hi. Let's not touch the microphone. Okay. For anybody that's a stay-at-home parent, you understand what this is. For anybody that's not, I apologize. But as a stay-at-home dad, this is my number one job. It's a drawing from second, and hopefully you don't mind hearing a toddler run around the background saying hi. Hi. Yeah, we say hi. Yeah, this is Otto. This is my son. Okay. Do you want to go play in your room? Why don't you take your iPad in your room and go play in your room? Okay, go take your iPad in your room. Go on. All right, y'all. So we kicked off this week with a new piece. It is called "The Man with Only One Remaining Given Name." It's a personal piece and a riff on me. It was a great title suggestion by my wife, and I just kind of ran with it. This is kind of. Let me turn this music down. This music's a little intense right now. I'm not really feeling how crazy ambient it is. I need something a little more chill. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. Let's just go hip hop and then let's pull the volume way down. That's better already. Yes. Okay. All right. Well, now we're much better out. So today we're going to go ahead and continue on with the piece we started yesterday. We kind of blocked out the piece on stream. Started laying in like the fundamentals, the basic shapes. This is kind of detailing this journey I'm on, transitioning my career towards a streaming career, working on art on the stream, and hopefully working towards developing an art book, some vinyl toys, and whatever else this community decides to be building. So it's we're kicking off. This is the start of week 2, and so far things have been amazing. I've met a lot of great people, got some new followers, and now it's just push and develop and keep on the art so the art stays moving in the right direction and getting done quickly. Now, keep in mind, we're not trying to rush through these pieces. We're just trying to create a nice path and flow of movement and development. That's all we're going to continue today. So today I'll be on until about 1 o'clock, at which time I'm going to hop off and take my son on a walk and go get some lunch. And then I'll be back today again at 4, from 4 to 7. So, any ideas, participation, whatever you'd like, feel free to pop your head in, say hi, chat it up, or just hang out quietly. You're welcome to hit me up on social media, at Instagram, at Facebook, as well as Twitter. Any ideas, suggestions, preferences, or design ideas. I'm really open to where your ideas are coming from and what you guys would like to see. So just, let me know, and I'll try to bring that to bear in the next following week. All right, let's jump in. So let me kind of take you through how we got to this place with this piece. So this piece initially was really just about what it is about this explosion of ideas that I've been having. It literally was not as literal as this. It began when we were just, the initial sketch really was very just basic. I was going to kind of try to keep it a little less abstract. I really try to seed my ideas in reality, and then as they expand outward, I then just allow them to morph. It's just kind of how I operate. But sometimes they can go into places like this. And last night I was sitting there with my wife, and we were talking about the piece, and I was kind of doodling on it. And we just kind of got this idea of like what it is about the way that my ideas work. And often it starts with a conversation, and then there's this moment of just spark of inspiration, and then everything just explodes out from that. And as we were talking, I was kind of doodling this circle, and I just kind of created this like center piece. And then I was like, well, there's that moment of spark, but what defines the separation? There's like almost like when a bomb goes off and there's a slight breath, and that corona that surrounds, that energy that surrounds the explosion, and then it blows out from there. And so that's what we're catching. We're catching this moment where like the idea sparks, And it's all happening from the microphone. You know, the microphone, especially this moment right now where I'm talking to you, this has added a part into my world as an artist that I never expected. I never expected to be able to like do art in a public way like this, where I talk to people. But man, it has triggered something and inspired something that I've never had before in my life as an artist. And that is a real just outpouring and just like deluge of ideas and creativity that I just hadn't explored before. And so that's where we're at. So I have this opportunity to reflect this moment. And I was joking with my wife the other night, and I was like, it's weird because I've always hesitated to call myself an artist. I know it sounds super stupid, but hear me out. I've got friends that are artists. I've got colleagues that are artists. And they draw to draw. Does that make sense? Like, they'll draw and create with the intent of just drawing and creating, just for themselves. They have OCs, they have things they attach to, they have all this history behind their art that really defines them. And I've just never had that. I've never felt, I've always had a bit of the imposter syndrome. I've really felt like an artist. But, you know, this time around, coming back this time around as an artist, and I've taken a break for a few years, I think I've found a balancing element that I guess I needed. And that was a sounding board, and that's you. And so because of that, you know, we're 2 weeks in, but really, this is the first time I've ever developed art like this, in this way. And I'm seeing a response from the environment I'm in now to just have this freedom. And there's no wrong answers. It's not always going to be the right answer, but there's no wrong answers. But what it's done is it's provided this kind of really great opportunity for me to just let my hair down and enjoy the ride. And that's where you're at with me. I am here as much of a viewer as you are. Just happen to be attached to hand that's doing the work. I would love to say that it's all by design or it's by intent, but it's not. It is a experience all its own, and I have never been through it myself, and we're just going to see how that looks. Today we're pushing straight into pen. I would like to think that maybe there's more room to do more detailed work up here and really define these elements, but I feel like if I'm going to get the best, most authentic piece here, I'm just going to go ahead and roll right into Dick and just let it come to life. So let's see what happens. Is there the potential to make me make mistakes or do things that we don't intend? Absolutely. But I'm not worried too much about mistakes right now. I'm worried more about just getting the elements locked in, and then I'll really develop the way they interact here in a moment. Apologies about the audio if I sound a little echoey or I sound a little not that great. I just started streaming last week. I'm still working on developing my channel. I'll have visual bumpers, I'll have assets, I'll have stickers for subscribers. All of that we're going to develop over the next coming weeks. I'm working on it right now. I'm working on my intro visuals right now, so it's a work in progress. But I really appreciate you being here, and let's just kind of get moving on. We got about an hour and 15 minutes, or sorry, an hour and 45 minutes to keep drawing on this. So let's move. Again, if you're here, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate you guys being here. So we're just going to delve right into the pen work. And the reason for that is because I've already really established this focal point, right? The center of the artwork is right here, right? So I've already kind of created this sense by allowing these details to just blow out from the center and really making sure that the line work just represents that well. That this is like the nexus of the event. This is the pivotal moment right here. And I know it's still a little bit undefined, abstract, but as we start creating these different bridging elements and kind of massaging this together, what you're going to see is that this moment, this centerpiece, is kind of like the center of this explosion, is really going to start coming more and more to life based off the animated elements around it. So I'm going to have like smoke drifts, little bits of parts of my head. No brain matter, no blood. This isn't gory. This is all abstract and fun. And I really try to stay away from blood and gore. It just doesn't suit me. I'm not that kind of artist. And I love artists who can embrace that. And I'm squeamish. I'm a big wuss. So it is what it is. We're just going to kind of roll with keeping it clean, keeping it fun, keeping it abstract. This is also going to be a piece that will eventually be sculpted in ZBrush by me for a 3D print and for a vinyl toy master. So keep that in mind. There's some reasons why we're making the decisions we're making. We're making decisions with longevity in mind. Every piece you see designed on the channel has the potential to turn into a vinyl toy, a statue, or a 3D print. All of this is going to be part of an art book eventually, where we'll collect all this artwork together. We'll have a free digital download for everybody. So yeah, just keeping in mind those elements, give a little room for this thing to evolve, and just accept that, you know, it's going to evolve for both of us, and I have no idea where it's going. We're just going to kind of enjoy the process of getting there. Okay, so I've got a few elements here that really define the movement, right? Because think about this. This is, in all effect, like the nucleus of an explosion. And I can go in here and just make hard lines and make this really dark circle, but I don't think that's going to quite get us where we want, because then it's just going to look like a dark circle, and then we have to break stuff in. So let's plop in the elements that we know are going to sit on top of that dark circle, the things that will kind of define this movement. So we're going to start with the smoke, because I kind of lined in the smoke here. There's a puff here, there's a puff here, there's a puff here, there's a puff down there, right? The reason we do that is because when compressed air escapes, it pushes matter outward, and smoke will really flow that, but then as soon as smoke is away from that point of impact, it starts resolving the smoke again, which is why you'll see those really tight lines that kind of execute into like clouds of smoke, because when they've gotten away from the pressure, they don't have enough mass to keep pushing and flying off in another direction. At a certain point, they lose that push, and they just start reforming into the distance away. So, let me know if that music's a little too loud. I can turn that down as well. Alright. So now we're going to go ahead and just get this smoke puff in. Now, I haven't quite defined what my smoke puffs are going to look like, so that's what we're going to do here. Let's figure out what our smoke's going to look like. I would like the smoke, or the rush of air and debris, to be lighter. I don't want it to be like black, because there's going to be enough blackness in this piece. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep it a little less dark in general. And I'm going to stick with just doing these little concentric, like lined up lines right next to each other to define the different shapes. You kind of saw me doing this over here. So to get an indication of where this smoke's going to come apart, this is where it's going to come out a little bit, where I find the curve, and then I just run the lines right off of where the curve kind of develops and resolves. And that allows me to keep the identification of the shape really easy, but not worry too much about trying to make the whole thing look super dark. Because there's so much dark in this piece already, and it's going to get more. Like the liquor bottle's going to be dark, the eye holes are going to be dark. So really, it's just thinking about not making this piece a chunk of ink, which, you know, can be fun. There are certainly times where you want a dark piece, but if you go too dark overwhelmingly, the details will suffer in the immediate read, and we are really going for a strong immediate read for an emotional response. That's the catch. I don't want you to have to look at it and be like, oh, that's what it means. You know, people are going to get whatever meaning they want out of it, but we're designing with the intent of having a very quick, clear read of like, that guy's head exploded. Why? And then as you follow the line from the camera, from here, which is the main focus, down the mic, you see that the mic has this really poppy, almost graphic explosion impact. So you're like, oh, okay, so the mic created this information feedback that just jutted up through the brain and blew the head up, which is effectively what we have going on here. The conversation with you has sparked all these ideas. These ideas have just like blown my mind and just, oops, sorry about hitting the camera. Let's stop that. Okay. So yeah, this is really just a reflection of where I'm at right now, and what my experience so far in, you know, doing the streaming today. So let's go ahead and just keep pushing. We are not going to go ahead and lay anything too heavy down, because keep in mind that I actually want this smoke to be a little lighter than the dark line that's going to be this corona of darkness that's going to go all the way around. So let's not confound our smoke too much, because and don't worry too much about these extra little lines that are in the smoke. All that's going to fall away the moment we add darkness. Your eye will just kind of gloss over those details. So we're just going to go ahead and keep pushing. pushing there. Now again, I'm not going to do anything crazy hardline, but I am going to lay down enough of a detail and a contour that you kind of have an immediate read of what's going on. You know, there are times where you will make a piece of art and you kind of want to let the viewer go on a journey and kind of like figure it out, so to speak. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to make it a complex visual. It just means that sometimes you can seed in extra story or extra things that aren't immediately obvious for your viewer. And that's something I definitely try to align to. You know, the story doesn't have to be in your face, but if there's some subtle complexity, then what that usually does is that allows somebody to come back for a second or third time and catch a little more each time. It's kind of like when you watch a movie, and the movie has little things you just didn't catch the first time. You go back and rewatch it, and you're like, oh, that's actually a much more important detail than I thought, or I can see how that ties to this other element that I thought wasn't that big of a deal, but now I understand there's some real context behind it. You know, at the end of the day, I think I've talked about this in previous streams, and I think I'll say this at the end of my days, if there's ever a statement that gets attributed to me. It is an artist, you are a storyteller. You are a developer of communicating your idea and your journey, and you're doing it through a visual medium. But much like a storyteller, much like a writer, there are certain things that are required for your story to actually convey properly. And I think one of the things that I really would push every artist to do is to think about the way that they're trying to tell the story, because people don't have the experiences you have that led you to put that communicate that thought into your art. And so if there's no context, a lot of times your story may not come through in a clear way. And for some artists that's fine. Some artists don't care. But it's not necessarily going to be to the detriment of your art, but I do think that it does mean that if there was something that you felt was a valuable aspect to the art, then what you're doing is you're hindering yourself from allowing somebody to make that connection, that logical jump to what you're doing. And so it really is valuable and very important. Let me turn this up a little bit. I can see that audio is not really jumping. There we go. All right. The biggest thing is just making sure that as you're going through and developing this art and developing these pieces, just keep in mind what it's saying, what's each part saying. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to change this music. I'm just not feeling this right now. Let's do chill vibes. Sometimes this happens too. You'll be working on a piece of art and you just need to find that audio that just kind of sings right. It happens. And for me, it's always very helpful if I can get the right kind of audio flow going, that beat going, I can kind of fall into my rhythm. Sometimes it takes a little bit, sometimes you never hit it. Doesn't necessarily mean it needs to stop the process, but we're just kind of trying to make sure all the elements are in place, Where I have my coffee, my son's in his bedroom playing, so I've got a little room out here, it's kind of quiet, it's kind of perfect. That's better. Now, you'll notice that I'm not going to go and do super finish on all this smoke stuff right now. And the reason for that is because I don't necessarily want to commit the smoke right here to being final, because I want to do all the smoke puffs, make sure I have all the directional lines in. Everything is going to be pointed towards this center, right? So you have a bunch of arrows pointing at this dot, and then this dot lines up with the action here. So we're creating a line of visual communication from the face, which is the first read. When somebody comes up, they're going to see this giant hole missing. That's going to be very clear. It's almost like the cornea of an eye. But then, as you explore, you're going to see all the lines drive you to the center and then down. You're going to follow the arm back and then come back up the body. So we're creating a visual triangle to lead the eye of a viewer, of our viewer. That's our real goal here. All right, let's keep pushing on that. Now, you'll notice that I get a little cartoony sometimes with this kind of stuff, and that's by design. I can go hyper-realism, but man, it Like when you're going hyper-realism, then all you're doing is comparing everything to reality. You know? And if that's your goal, super cool. You know, if you're one of those artists that really wants to nail the way something looks, whether it's a flower or a dog or a person or whatever it is, maybe you're really into like hyper-realism still life. That is a thing, by the way. That's cool. Do you? You know, that's fantastic. That's the perfect expression of what art is supposed to be. Whatever speaks to you. But for me, I'm a little less bothered by that because I know I can create hyper-realism if I need to, but I wouldn't say that I really enjoy it because to me, there's too much in the world that can be expanded and pushed and abstracted. And for me, that's really where I like to exist. I like to exist in this space of abstract where, you know, the art is based on reality. There's a sense that what I'm doing is like appropriate to the way something physically moves, the way something's colored, the way something's textured. But what I'm more interested in is I'm more interested in creating expression of movement of art. Think very manga and anime. In Japan, when they teach an artist about being a mangaka, about being a manga artist, it's really much more about the action and the gesture and the movement of the art, which is why, you know, you can go through and find any number of examples of very, very popular manga and anime that, you know, if you still frame it, then it sometimes it's questionable. But when seen in the context of the movement of it, especially in anime, that's when you see the real beauty of the design and what the artists were intending. I try to take that same approach, but apply it through the lens of a little bit of an abstracted way that the elements or the objects interact. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not. You know, sometimes it's a swing and a miss. That happens, by the way. If you're okay trying something and letting it just sometimes fail, then the upside of that, the potential wins, the unexpected successes are super cool. Because you don't know until you try. And with a piece like this, you know, you're going to be pushing into it for, 10, maybe 12, maybe 16 hours. My last piece that I did last week, that piece capped out, I think, at 14 hours. Now, to be fair, a great deal of that time was spent talking. So it was probably about 7 hours of solid drawing. This one so far is probably about 4.5, I think, of solid drawing. 3.5. Let's say 3.5. I think that's fair. So I've been talking a lot. For those of you new to the stream, I am an illustrator, artist, stay-at-home dad, creator. So you'll hear my son in the background. He's in his room playing. He's a toddler, so he will be heard up past my mic. And we're just developing artwork currently for the stream. So any suggestions, any ideas, anything you'd like to see developed or drawn, that's what we're building here. I'd love your feedback. I'd love your input. Hit me up on social media, whether Instagram, Facebook, whatever the case is. And also our equipment we'll be developing right now. It's all pretty what I have. But as time goes on and the stream grows, we'll go ahead and be working on getting better equipment so that I have a better quality of camera and audio. So apologies, Hank, thank you for being here and sticking with me through this growth phase. This is new and we're just kind of seeing what we can make out of it. So continuing on with creating this motion line. So the reason I started with the smoke is because the smoke is actually going to break the line of this halo, right? The halo is going to kind of stop up there, but the smoke really needs to kind of come in. And we're already seeing an issue here. So this smoke should be going at the center here, and it's not. This smoke is like all on its own. So we're going to go ahead and correct that. Now again, we're working with pen, right? Pen's all additive. But the reason we stayed light was just for such occasions. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab a ruler here, and I'm going to go and just make a strong stroke. Bam. That is our key stroke that we now need to align to. And it's okay that it's overlapping these other pieces because all of this is just going to disappear. We're going to blend it in. It's no problem. Pen is additive, yes. But if you don't overload your paper, pen is totally malleable, totally workable. And that's the thing I want to kind of hopefully everybody will walk away from this. Don't be afraid of pen because pen can just, your contrast and your control will really define how the pen work comes across in the end. So we're just going to go ahead, we made this really strong line. Think of it like a speech bubble. I'm going to go ahead and make one more strong line and just assure that we know exactly what our boundaries for this guy are. There we go. Already, those lines are more dominant and profound than the ones we had laid down before. So the other ones are already starting to disappear, which is really nice. Hey, bub. What you doing, big boy? Hey, monkey. Yeah, you want to say hi? Alright, come on. Oh, those of you new to the stream, this is my son Otto. He is my co-pilot and partner in all this art stuff. So you will see him periodically. And you'll play, yeah, hi, you want to play in your room? Yeah? Where's your iPad? Go get your iPad. Alright, continuing on. Okay, so everything else smoke puff wise is good. We're okay with this one, that's fine, whatever, we corrected the line. This guy is probably going to look like it's blending into the hair, and that's okay. That you know, we're not going for perfection on that, we're just going to kind of like nestle it in. So I'm going to go ahead and start defining these. Give this some blowback. Now the trick here, and this is true of all lining and ink work. It's not about your clouds, your puffs of smoke looking perfect every time, but what you're trying to do is develop consistency. So you'll notice that here, all of my lines on this cloud are following the action line to the center. All of my lines up here are following the action lines down here. Bryce, your butt up. Apologies. So he's got a vacuum cleaner. He thinks he's helping by vacuuming the floors. It's loud as hell. So I gotta hide that stupid toy. But it's also really cute because he's trying to be super helpful, and I love that. That's what we were doing here. So keep in mind that this goes back to that core of what we were talking about. Everything that we're doing around the center nexus is driving the lines inward. And you might think like, oh, these are really small details, but I assure you, these are the details up here that will fully communicate how powerful this blast is. So we are showing that the impact that this blast has pushes everything from the center. And it's just this like moment of just like pure energy exploding. And so keep that in mind when you're trying to develop and build your line work. You don't need to go super heavy. You don't need to go super dark. You don't need to go super detailed. You don't need to pack in a bunch of like smoke curls and shit like that. You can, by all means. You know, if that is what your mind sees when you start kind of cranking this thing out, then go for it. Or if that's what the reference you're looking at kind of leans and you really like the reference you're referencing, go for it. But in this case, I'm kind of just flying by feel. That is definitely a way that I like to operate. It is not everybody's way, and I perfectly understand that. I use tons of reference, but I only use tons of reference when I'm initially pulling my idea together. I'll go through, I'll pull my reference, I'll make my mood board, I'll start doing my loose sketch, but at a certain point, I have found that I just need to step away from my reference and trust my gut and roll. And there are times where something will be wrong and I'll go back and kind of find reference again and fix it. But mostly, I find myself coming away with really, really happy and unexpected, elements that I just that weren't in the reference. And if I allow myself that freedom to just create, it can have some really good results. It can be moments like this morning when my wife sees it and she's like, I don't get it. And that happens, you know? My job now is to get it to the point where it's undeniable what I'm trying to say. She may not like the way I execute it, and that's okay. Not everybody has to like your execution. Not everybody has to look at it and say, that's great. They might say, oh, that makes sense, but I don't really like it. That's fine. You know, you don't need to convince everybody that you're a great artist. That's not why we're here. We're here to create art, not just show people that we're good at what we do, right? Because that's, who knows? You're going to do 1 million bad drawings and maybe 1,000 good ones in your life. Think about that ratio, right? That's not a true number, but you're going to have a lot of mistakes and a lot of learnings and a lot of opportunities to question your process and the way you approach art and try to refine that. And part of that's defined by your journey in life, the experiences you have, the people you meet. I mean, I will be the first one to say, I am only the artist I am today because I met much better, much more talented artists than me, and I stole the shit out of their techniques. Somebody had a cool technique for developing a piece of art or a movement or something like that. Yeah, that's now something I use. Because that's what it takes to be an artist a lot of times, is to be a perpetual learner. Now, there are those people that are just obscenely talented, who just kind of have an innate knowledge of how to put an idea onto paper. That doesn't mean that they still don't have to do all of the footwork, all of the time, all of the hours. I mean, that is just a way of life. It's one of those things I try to really encourage people to understand when they're like, "Oh, you're a really talented artist," or something like that. I'm like, "Yeah, thank you, I appreciate that." But art's a labor of love. You've got to put the time in. The time invested shows in the return quality of what you're making. And there's no replacement for sitting down, putting some music on, or getting into your kind of chill, happy place, and then just creating. It's just part of the gig, part of what it takes to do this, to a point where you push yourself into a space where you're then starting to grow. Because growth doesn't happen when you're doing something easy. Maybe it can, but the most profound growth usually happens when you're at a point where you have to execute, and it's just, you got to get shit done. And that's not always necessarily going to be true of everybody, but in my experience, and in the experience that I've seen of my peers, the greatest moments of growth have usually come at the back of of a real challenge they were facing, and whether they succeeded or not is inconsequential. It was more the journey of trying to overcome that usually provided them the opportunity to see what they were doing and then improve it, benefit, grow. So we are just pushing. Yeah, I'm feeling this music right now. This is nice. So one thing I really want to point out, look at these lines. So if you see the center of this line and you just go this direction, everything is going to point right back to the center. This direction, everything's going to point right back to the center. This direction, everything right back to the center. These lines may be more developed, and we'll bring this level of line quality up to the top. And I'm allowing it to go dark because the center itself in the middle is dark, and the smoke kind of represents the space filling up inside my head, so to speak. And if it was all like puffs of white smoke, I just don't think that would hold enough weight to anchor the center, but also provide enough variance visually to kind of work with elements around. Because remember, I still have a bunch of parts of my head that are there, and I need those to hold the values and the details of my face kind of split apart. For those just joining, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. My name is Raymond Hamilton, and I am working on just the latest piece this week. We're doing ballpoint pen work. If you're curious about the technique that I'm using, it is something that I call pen painting. I use a Bic pen, and we're just loading ink onto the page without pressing it in, and then dragging it away from the center, from the direction I want to go. And so you'll see that demonstrated here. Eventually I'll have my YouTube up and running fully with videos, and I'll be showing tutorials on how to approach this style of artwork and the technique that's used. Not quite there yet, but that is on my eventual list of things I would really like to accomplish. So here's a great example of, we have the tongue. Now, keep in mind that this center of the piece, I need this to stay, for the most part, super bright and unobstructed. And the tongue's a great place where we can do something here, because the tongue can actually have a darker shading, but then the moment it comes down in, it just goes super bright, almost light. So we're kind of creating an artificial cornea of light around this center dot. Again, part of this is for the quick read for our guest. Part of this is to insinuate that there's a vast amount of energy exploding outward. And part of this is just because visually I think it looks pretty cool. Sometimes that's enough, Is it realistic? Well, I don't know. I've never seen somebody's head explode with a giant black ball sitting in the center. Who's to say? Okay. Something I've been kind of pondering is I'm wondering if this style of art may be a little too slow to show on stream. What are your thoughts on that? Is this enjoyable? Do you enjoy seeing this kind of detailed build-up work? It's slow, so it's not immediately gratifying. I think it could be a little bit dull for a lot of people to watch. Do you feel that maybe in this forum it's better that I stick to something more like digital painting that has more of like an immediate dopamine kick for my viewer, where you can see something happen greatly? Or is there something to this slow build that has an appeal to you? Because really I'm just, for the first time in my life, actually exploring and showing artwork online, and doing it in a public way where I kind of show my mistakes and just let it be. And I'm really curious on what people actually want to see. That's the one thing that you never really hear about or know, or it really takes that communication, and I just haven't quite gotten that yet. And I know we will eventually. But I would love to cater the channel towards, the style of artwork that people would enjoy sitting and watching. And I have a lot more ranges. One of the things I thought about doing is it'd be great to do some character design workshops. I love doing character design. I've been a concept artist for years for video games. There's a lot of cool little tricks and techniques that anybody, even new artists, can pick up and apply that really expand the toolbox of somebody who wants to kind of create their own OCs. I think that's always a really great, for young artists, that's such a great process to get into, is creating your own characters, because that usually means you're creating your own story, and if you're creating your own story, that usually means you're starting to think about your art beyond the just if you can draw good, right? If you get past the point where you're so worried about, I can't draw good, and you really start focusing the attention around, actually, this is my OC, and this is the world they come from, and this is all the details about them, and this is what makes them special. That's the stuff that really allows a lot of artists to grow quickly, because they're not getting caught up and then stuck with the how. They're just starting to kind of push in, and the how kind of defines itself. So again, we're increasing the cornea, and we're increasing this darkness. Guys, I am so impressed with my son right now. The fact that he is in the other room is like the best thing ever. He is crushing it today and being a really good boy. So I am going to open some big walkies and big lunch. Let's see. Alright, so now a couple things that are happening here. Now I've gone over the teeth with this smoke, and that's totally fine. We don't need it to be clear. This isn't about seeing like, I need to see all of the mouth. Forget that. That's not important. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lift some pencil out of here just to kind of give myself a little bit of clean space and see what I need to detail in. Okay, so I've already committed. Looks like I've got like a smoke line coming off here. And I can go ahead and just accent that. We'll let that just kind of have, again, motion lines follow the blast. That's why we laid the blast down. The blast is effectively our perspective guide, but also our center of action. Keep in mind, just because we're doing something that's a little more, a lot more abstract, doesn't mean we don't have to still follow the rules of art. Part of that's perspective. Perspective really does matter. You may not be doing a building, you may not be doing architecture, and that's fine. Perspective is not about mechanical perfection. Perspective is about making sure your eye knows how to follow a piece. And our eyes are trained to follow perspective because our eyes are used to seeing things in real life. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the whole crux of why perspective matters, because we are used to seeing it. And so if we are used to seeing it, then we better cater to that, because if we don't, then even the most untrained artist will look at something and say, something's wrong there. They won't know what, and that's where the kind of education of why a problem occurs happens. But it's definitely something that their eye will step the snag on. Okay. For those who are new to the stream, welcome. Thank you for being here. Just so you know, I am a stay-at-home dad, so you will hear my son in the background. He is a 2.5-year-old named Otto, and he is my permanent wingman. He is awesome. But sometimes he is also, because he is learning his words right now, decides to come out and start whipping out some words and being very excited about it. So I stream twice daily, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, from 11 to 1, and then again from 4 to 7. So if you can only be on for a little while today, this morning, feel free to jump back to the afternoon stream. We'll keep crushing and pushing a lot of this through. And yeah, just kind of keep making it happen. So, you'll notice some things that are happening here. I put like a little lightning bolt here, I've got the tongue spraying out, I've got that smoke there. Again, you don't have to lean super heavy into things being quote-unquote realistic if you're okay just making sure that you're defining your areas that are really important. 1 second, please. Negotiating with your son, you're going to take him on a walk in an hour. Yeah! Delaying tactics. All right. Okay, so we started. I'm just going to make sure that we don't lose these teeth, because these teeth are a super important part. This is the top of the jaw, and I'm going to have a bit of a kind of a chunk of black in this to really bring out the graphic quality of the inside of the mouth. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense right now, but you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and you'll notice I'm really hard lining this. It's because I'm fully committing to this shape and this design in this spot. I kind of had drawn this part out way ahead of time and very much knew what it was going to be. Hey, bub. Hey, bub. Go get your ball. Go get it! Go get it! And again, there's no right or wrong way to show an exploding mouth and the top half of the mouth flying away. Yeah, that is my son. Check that. Yep. Welcome back to the stream, my friend. Whoa, buddy. Can we not shout over here, please? How about you go kick your ball in your room? Here. Go get him. Here. Go get him. It is my son. I apologize about the noise. I'm going to lower my mic a little bit so you guys don't get blown out. Yeah, he's 2.5 years old, Otto. So little stories. Before I was doing this, I was a 3D modeler and retail designer. Did a lot of stuff for Adidas, Nike, store design. And after COVID, my whole world of retail kind of shattered. And I decided to go ahead and just start working freelance from home. I worked for a company just making kind of 3D models for a sales tool, like online sales, and it sucked. There was just no opportunity for creativity. There was no opportunity to actually have a voice in anything we did. And I realized at that point that I couldn't, I had actually now been home with my son. All of a sudden I realized I really like being a stay-at-home dad, which is super cool. I had never done that before, obviously. And I just kind of fell out of love with this industry that I pumped 15 years into. And I just realized that it hadn't been satisfying for a long time. I really wasn't getting anything out of it. And worst of all, it had taken me away from being a creative and being an artist. So I took a chance and I pitched this idea to my wife about doing art on stream and seeing if she would be down to kind of let me take this journey and kind of take the bulk of our income weight and try to build something, and here we are. And so, yeah, it's definitely a new experience, but it kind of caps off some of my most important boxes. 1 second, please. All right, sorry about that. I was wondering if these drawings have a purpose or is it just a hobby? You know, check there, that's a really great question. These specific pieces are all driving towards an art book. So my eventual goal is to get all of this artwork collected, every 90 days or up to 6 months, and put out an art book. For my subscribers, it'll be fully free, full free download, and eventually meet with a publisher and get this published into an art book. My other goal at 60 days is to have my channel viewers go ahead and select a few of the pieces, probably 6 of the pieces we'd like to see turn into vinyl toys. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sculpt them on screen in ZBrush. We're going to go through the process of the prep for print. And then we're going to go ahead and go through the process of getting them masters made and then working on getting vinyl toys made. And eventually those will be welcome sold, to out there in the world, and also my subscribers will get a huge discount. So we'll figure all that out. Right now, I'm mostly just drawing from my personal inspiration, but I'm hoping with participation from my viewers, like yourselves, that you'll have ideas that'll come into it. Eventually, if I could make one statement that I think I really hope to define my time as an artist is that the bulk of my work that happens on this channel will be from your ideas and your participation, and that's what I'm really hoping to be the cornerstone is the cycle of content becomes something that is your participation and your, what your ideas are. Because to me, I just want to be the hand in the process, and we can kind of all explore together. I'm a big fan of ideas. Awesome, yeah. Wait 1 second, please. Sorry about the muting, y'all. Just trying to protect your ears from the excited 2-year-old. Okay, so one thing that we haven't done yet, and you're about to see happen. For the inside slices, so let's say there's the head exploded, all the pieces are flying out, but you're going to kind of catch the underside and the inside, and for those I'm going to make those highly graphically black. And the reason I'm doing that is A, I don't want to do gore. That has no appeal to me. But also B, it provides anchors for all the details to kind of plug in and sit around. So in this case, this area around the teeth, this is going to go to a hard black. I'm using a inkwell pen. This is one of my favorite pens to use. And it's just literally a body of ink with a brush attached to it. And all we're doing is we're going to force a really strong black shape. Bubba, can you calm down, please? And this big strong shape is going to really just there's no lines to follow. We're not trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to start creating this shape. This is going to look like it's kind of torn. And it's okay that we're going over other work that's already been done. It's kind of the beauty of ink. If I was to say, if there was one kind of term I would say that defines my art, it would be layered. This is a pen that a lot of comic artists use to much greater skill than what you're seeing here. I have ruined so many pieces of artwork with it, but that's why I go back to it. Because at a certain point, I'm going to get it right, and I'm going to kind of master this pen, and I'm going to feel like I can then properly control and make it work how I want. We're not there yet. What's going on, buddy? What's going on, buddy? Did you drop something underneath your trampoline? Move the trampoline, buddy. You can move it, just push it. Yeah, move your trampoline. Stream only on YouTube or somewhere else. Checker, I actually am streaming on YouTube, on Twitch, and on Facebook. So if you just go to Google and type in Random Hamilton Twitch or Random Hamilton Facebook, you'll find me. I'm also on Instagram. I would love to have, if you can kind of feel free to shoot me ideas or suggestions there. That's all 3 of those access ways through social media or here on the site are very welcome. There you go, buddy. There you go, buddy. Go get it. Alright, so Now we're going to go ahead and just clean up where these teeth were. But now you can see that this really strong black shape really makes this whole upper area much more of a flow of story. You know, when we start really adding these details in, you're going to see the intent of the piece start coming more to life, which is the real goal here. Hey, well, thank you so much for the follow on the, also on Twitch there, Mr. Schechter. That's amazing. You know, and Schechter, and I really hope I'm saying your name right. So if I'm saying it wrong, please, if you could like phonetic it out, or just, I'll just say it wrong. But you know, I gotta say you're one of my most consistent returning guests, and I would really love to do a piece that is something that you're interested in. So if you have some time tomorrow when you wake up, or I know you're in the evening right now, so I don't want to infringe. But if you're ever interested, put some ideas down. Shoot me a message on Instagram, or just post it here. And I would really love to do lean into artwork for my guests that are returning, and you are my most common and returning follower. So to me, that just means that you get priority. What would you like to see? Is there some story or content or something you'd like to kind of see drawn out, or do you have a character you'd like to see represented? What's up, buddy? What's up? Okay, I'm working right now. Okay, we can go. Well, I'll be done in like an hour. Okay. Where's your iPad? Go play with your iPad. Hey, would you go play with your iPad, please? I can't play right now. Okay. Alright. Alright, so here we go. Let's keep pushing on this, guys. Sorry about the delays. This is the reality of being a stay-at-home dad. Sometimes you just gotta stop what you're doing and put out the little bit of fire, because it's not that big of a deal, but if you don't take care of it, it can turn into a big deal. Alright, so we're just gonna go ahead and clean this guy up. Does it matter if this is gum or teeth? Not really. Does it matter if it's a fang or not? Not really. That's not why we're here. We're here to just tell the story of the face exploding. And if the face looks like it's exploding, which is a horrible thing to say out loud, but let's just roll with it. If the face looks like it's exploding properly, then all is well. And I feel like we are nailing that portion at least. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just a little bit of a dip in there for the gums. It's a very common thing. Good boy. Thank you for putting a show on. All right. I'm going to go ahead and turn his volume down 1 second. Alright, y'all, sorry about that. Dad stuff, doing dad things, you know how it is. Okay, so we've got the mouth in. This is the first real big detail that I put in. So let's put the other elements in so we can kind of see the face and make sure we know the face is there. So here's the top of the mouth, here's the bottom of the mouth. Explosion happens right in kind of the center of the brain, so everything goes out. Awesome. Well, great. I'm glad you're enjoying it. You know, actually. Your translation is coming through perfectly. It looks great, man. I really appreciate the feedback and the ideas, and I think that, yeah, if it conveys, it doesn't matter what language we use, right? Conveying an idea, to me, should not hold limitations or barriers, and that's one of the reasons why I try to stay away from using words predominantly. Like, there will be words in this. I'll have font on here, but the idea shouldn't hinge on that. And in my perfect world, my dream of dreams, guys, I'm going to share a secret with you. One of my big dreams, as a creative, as somebody who loves education, loves teaching, I can't wait to... Do you guys know what viewfinders are? Look up... I'm going to type it into the chat, Schechter, so you can look it up. Look up a viewfinder. Viewfinders are a tool, a kid's toy, that were used for years and years and years and years. And essentially, it's film on a round, and when you pull the trigger, it turns the bit of film so you can see a picture in it. I would love to put out digital viewfinders made out of cardboard, fully recyclable, fully renewable, and create internal galleries. And when you use the viewfinder, it links you to a website where you can literally walk through a gallery. I would love to put that out in the world because I would like that to be able to ship to every country. I want to ship it to Africa. I want to ship it to China if it's allowed. Europe. I want to ship it everywhere and let everybody, for no cost, walk through a gallery. Experience that. Take that technology and put that into some animation. Do animation shorts. But then also make the packaging, make the viewfinder something that can be planted and seeded, or make it something healthy. I think there's a world where we can bring art into a much more interactive and supportive place for environment improvement, for health improvement, and just for quality of life. Sharing experiences of people across the world that just don't have access to this experience you and I are having now. We shouldn't be the only ones, and I think that art can be the vehicle that takes us there. It just takes support, time, resources, but man, I'll tell you, if I can make any one thing happen, that will be it. That will be my great big goal, is finding a way to create these shared experiences across continents from no cost to the people who want to partake. I think there's something really special about that, and it could be a really impactful thing for the world to have opportunities like that. This is just me waxing poetic, so don't, whatever. I get like that sometimes, but I don't know, big dreams, right? You gotta think of where your art's gonna go. I can sit here and think all day about this piece, but this piece is done as soon as we put the pen down, right? My contribution in the idea. Hey, you know what, Chester? If you want to get a tattoo, I've been a tattoo designer for years. I've done tattoo designs for probably about 75, 80 people. My tattoos are on people. I actually went to college and didn't get my tattoo license because I couldn't afford at the time to get an apprenticeship, and now being a dad, there's just no way I can do an apprenticeship. But if you're interested in getting a tattoo, and there's a subject matter that you're interested in, shoot me a line. Let me know what your ideas are, and I would love to develop something for you on the stream. If you don't mind me making it on the stream so people can see it, as far as I'm concerned, it will be all yours, and you can go and get it done. And I would love to be a part of that. That'd be amazing. I've done 3 of the pieces on my wife. I've done pieces on all of my relatives. The trick is just, really figuring out what you need to design and what the person wants, and then going through and making sure you find the right artist for them. And that's something I wouldn't be able to do for you, but I could certainly teach you how to approach an artist and how to have that conversation with them. The thing you have to remember is that when you're taking art from another artist to a tattoo artist, you're telling an artist, the tattoo artist, you're saying, hey, I need you to do this other artist's work. And it's not a very good conversation to have. A lot of tattoo artists really don't like it. But you can approach them, and what I usually do when I'm working with a tattoo artist is I'll go and I'll approach them and I'll say, hey, listen, this is the framework and this is the piece that we've designed, but I've left this loose and these details loose, and I'd like you to take those and run with it. So what you're doing is you're involving the tattoo artist in the process. And if you have the patience and the care to do that, you can really move mountains. You can, artists aren't so egocentric that they don't care about what the person they're working on wants. But you have to remember that this artist has busted their ass to get the position they're in. As a tattoo artist, they have worked so many hours to refine their craft and really move the dial to be where they are. And you have to respect that. You have to respect the fact that just because you want something doesn't necessarily mean that they're willing to just go ahead and assuage and put away their voice in their hand and just make a carbon copy, because that's not the way tattoos work. Tattoos are, for some people that's the way tattoos work. I got a buddy that was bored one day and got a tattoo of still life fruit across his abdomen. It was like a 7-hour tattoo that he did because he was bored. I kid you not. It was beautiful. Beautiful still life, but everybody's got their own way. And in fact, I hope someday he sees this so he can reach back out so I can see how that tattoo looks, because I only saw it when it was recently done. I'm curious how it's aged. Okay, so all we're doing now, we've laid the eye in. Remember, we take the eyes are a solid black. We kind of bring this around and we just give it just a little bit of a dip in. Think of it like the back side, like a really subtle B indent. We're not looking for perfection, guys. We're just looking to make sure our shapes are right and then our details kind of come through. So what you see here is we see the first eye. This is the left eye. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just make sure I really anchor the white space around that eye. Keep in mind, the reason I'm allowing this to go dark is because it's going to be dark around this shape. But the shape itself, because it's the face, is going to be a lot brighter. I need it to stay bright to really show that there are little breaks of contrast. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that I've really clearly locked in my shape and I'm happy with it. You know, you're not going to see the eyebrow. Obviously, the eyebrow is somewhere off from the smoke. But if you can see the eye shape and you kind of know the way the eye is going to be shaped and developed, then we can go ahead and we can give it a little bit of thickness. I want you to think of the broken pieces almost like you broke like a pot, like porcelain, and there's kind of depth and thickness to those walls. That's what we're creating. We're creating just a little bit of thickness. Alright, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start giving a little bit of context to this eye. Now again, we're not heavily loading, we're not overloading this paper, we're just laying in some initial shading. That's all we're trying to do. The shading is everything. We're pushing, we're pushing, we're pushing. Now, you know, when we think about the space under the eye, right? There's the eyelid, there's all that. But when we're doing something that's stylized like this eye is essentially like a giant hole in the face. Creating contour around that can be a little bit daunting because what are you supposed to, you know, what is it supposed to be? Should it be a chunk of dark? Should it be a light shading? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and insinuate that there's kind of depth and kind of curvature and structure around that eye. And because this is the only place that this is going to show up, it will feel right. And what I mean by that is when you're drawing and you're trying to replicate realism, you're not actually drawing against realism. You're drawing against what's believable by the viewer. Does that make sense? You know? You're not trying to convince the person that's standing there that this is the exact structure of the eye because you've already broken that. What we're trying to do is we're trying to convince them that this part of the explosion is the actual eye, just separated from the body. And that will allow us, let's see, we're going to go ahead and make sure we do these lines correctly. So I need to make sure this line is running properly. We had to redo this earlier, remember? So we have our center of our dot here. And let's just go ahead and make sure we have some action lines running to this guy appropriately. There we go. So that is the direction of that guy. And the reason I did that is because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do something really stupid, but that's okay. We can do stupid. I'm going to go ahead and add some heavy dark lines without any kind of prep. The reason I'm doing this, let me preface this. The reason I'm doing this is because if you're too careful and you're too precious, you can end up putting too much information, and that can really chunk down this piece. And I want this piece to be light, but still kind of feel the action. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, so what I did there was I just laid down some black, and it looks a little blotchy, but the reason we did that is because we're going to come in here with a Bic, and we're going to pull it out. Now again, ink is a wet medium, which means it sits on the paper. Ink doesn't immediately absorb into your paper. I use Bristol board for this. I'm using Bristol board for this piece. And that means that I have a little bit of room to play here for both massaging it visually through the integration, but also making sure that I'm following all my prescribed action lines that I've laid down. Because ink will just stay on the paper until I either brush it in or I force it in by channels by pressing too hard. Alright, now we got something here. So I'm just creating a consistent flow of action lines that aren't necessarily like perfect. But the one thing they are all consistently doing is they're all exiting from the center in a uniform and consistent way. They're not all going the same direction, obviously, because the center is the nexus, but they are effectively all aligning to the same point of action, the same expression of like just puff, like blowout. And we'll bring in more heavy dark lines in here a little later to define these smoke clouds and these elements. But right now we're just getting all of our important pieces in place. Like this is an important piece, right? This is just a chunk of face, but the backside of it will be black, just like the mouth. And we're doing that because I'm trying to make sure that we don't get gory. We're keeping it expressionistic. We're keeping it abstract to a degree, and we're just making sure that it's a quick read that that's the back side of that part of the face. Just not that guy. I'm not that kind of artist. I think artists that do gory are amazing. I've seen some truly terrifying and creepy pieces, and they blow my mind. But I'm squeamish. And I simply do not have the wherewithal to make that a part of my artistic endeavors. Maybe someday. Maybe someday I'll be a little less of a wuss, and I'll make that happen. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hardline this piece. Something else you're going to see happening is, in order to make these pieces pop away from the general texture of the pen behind it, we're going to use a micron and really hardline these pieces of the face that are kind of separating, quote unquote. The reason for that is because I want this to be graphic. Like again, I'm not going for hyperrealism. I'm going for abstract with a leaning into realism. And so what that means is that I want to just make sure that I make it a really quick and clear read. I want you to see that and go, oh, that's what that is. That makes sense. Okay. And now this guy, because we had done the outline in Bic, now we're going to come through and we're going to hardline it. And you're going to see just how quickly this thing kind of pops out. This is why we did the action lines. We did the really heavy action lines in the darker ink, and then I went through and massaged them in. Because what you're going to see is this guy's just going to pop right out. And the reason for that is because everything around this guy is going to be dark. It's going to be kind of like that rush of line work that kind of supports the moment of action. For those of you watching, my big thrust right now is to grow my channel. So if you know of anybody, whether it's a classmate or a friend or a colleague or a family member that is just interested in art, or you think that they may kind of jive with what I do, all of this work that we're doing, all of the work will be fully downloadable and full resolution. And I really, at this point, I'm just looking for growth. So word of mouth is everything to me. And if you're enjoying what you're seeing, and if this isn't too bad of an experience, then pass it around. I would love to have, just anybody that you think could jive. They're always welcome. I think that's one of my big thrusts right now is how do I kind of think about growing this community we're in. And one of the things is, instead of just getting bodies in here, I want to start making it a place where creatives can come and kind of share their ideas. I'd love to do artwork reviews. That would be awesome. I've already secured my Discord under my name, but I would love to kind of create a space where artists can bring their work and we can review it, talk about it, and work on developing their skill sets. Big yawn, big guy. Big yawn. Alright, so we're continuing this line of this halo, but I'm not going to go super intense on this piece up here. And the reason I did that is because I don't want to lose this portion of the circle. I think if you lose the circle itself, it kind of diminishes the effect of the whole thing. So I'm going to have to accept the fact that some of this is going to come up on this thing. But I don't have to go too crazy with it. And I can certainly have some of it be on the underside. Yeah, bub? You yawning over there. You yawning over there. Alright. Cool. Okay, we got that portion of the face blowing off. We got that guy there. I'm going to go ahead and give just a little bit of Lipton detail from this perspective down here. Kind of bring this up to show the roundness. Again, I'm not pressing hard. All I'm doing is I'm allowing the ink to load onto the page, and then I'm dragging it with the ballpoint. My guy back there just started yelling words, so I was a favorite of his. Apologies if the toddler's a little bit loud and spiky. I can lower the mic here, so it's a little less intense. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and keep pushing. Now we're just slowly developing this ink lining up here. We do want this to be extremely soft. The bulk of this piece is going to stay nice and bright, so we want to make sure that if we're going to do any kind of inking, we keep it very contained, because we really want these pop-out pieces to stay light and be a contrast to all the darkness underneath. In this case, I didn't want to lose this circle, so that was kind of a considered choice to allow the cornea, the blackness, to kind of roll up on the upper piece. But just be intentional, right? Just commit to it. If it's going to be for a better view of what you're trying to create, that'll go a long way. Yeah, that works. Okay. Let's go ahead and carve the ear, because I think the ear will be really helpful to kind of frame this side of the piece in. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to... Now, I do ears super simple, right? You'll notice I'm doing the ear with the Bic. And I'm not, we're going to outline this again with the Micron. The reason I do the Bic the first time, and this is something just to keep in mind, I do the initial framing with the Bic because the Bic is soft. So when I frame it in, the ink spreads, but a Micron is very hard. So the trick is if you do it with the Bic first, and it kind of creates a soft fall off, and you go over that line with the Micron, you have a really dark line, but with a nice diffuse to fall off it. So it's just about knowing your pens, knowing what results you're going to get out of the pen working in the way you expect it to, and then just putting it on paper and accepting the results. I think that's something that when you're talking about working with additive mediums, paint's in this conversation, but paint can be removed after it's applied. If it's wrong, you can kind of get some kind of fix, and it might actually add a nice layer of detail and texture. But pen as an additive can be fairly permanent. It really relies on you not going too hard in the paint if you are unsure about the lines you're going to make. And so what that means is you really need to just make sure that if you're going to do something with pen, you just know what you're going to do. Have a plan. And even the best laid plans will not always work the way you expect them to. And that's okay. If we were going for perfection, we wouldn't be drawing in pen in the first place, right? We're drawing in pen because pen as a storytelling device is brilliant. Pen has a way of putting a exclamation point on something. When you see this blackness, these dark lines, somebody can come in here in the stream, see this for the first time, be like, oh, that's finished, or oh, that looks like it's done. We know it's not, right? We're not there yet, but just keep in mind that you can really quickly get to what looks like a finished state, which is why I like to use pen. But the problem is that it's only additive. You can only go so far. And once you've gone too far, you can't go back. So just think about that. And this goes back to one of the things I was talking about yesterday on my stream. There's no mistake that's too great in pen to overcome. I'm gonna do something unique here, right? I'm gonna take, I just laid down all this pen, so the pen's a little bit wet. And I'm gonna go ahead and just keep in mind where the center of the piece is. This is our center point, and I'm going to erase towards that. And what I'm doing is I'm doing two things. I'm erasing, but I'm also making sure that if there's any ink, it washes in the correct direction. It didn't look like there was no real issue there, so that's fine. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my action lines. We did this before with the black pen, and I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make sure I've got my guideline set to the center of the dot. Hey, big boy, what you doing? Oh yeah, you're running around, huh? Okay, we got our action line there. We got our action line here. These are not about being exact. This is about making sure... Hey, what's going on, buddy? This is about making sure we're communicating this pivotal center of energy. There we go. So now we know... Hey, whoa. What's up, buddy? Yeah, I want to pull it too. Hey, Bubba, where's your iPad? Oh, you okay? You get your head? All right. Hey, where's your iPad? Go get your iPad, buddy. Sorry about that, guys. Stay-at-home dad life, right? Hey, that's something I got a question for you guys. Have you seen many streamers who just stream in the same room that they watch their kids in? Is that a thing? Is that good practice? Is that bad practice? I'm actually really enjoying it. I feel like it is grounding this stream in something that's really important, and that's being a father, being home, and sharing this slice of my life. And I was just curious, in your opinion, do you like that or not like that? Would you prefer I keep my streams to in the afternoon when he's in bed, which is my afternoon stream, and instead of doing an early day stream, I could stream in the afternoons, and then I could stream extremely late at night? Checker, that would mean that I'd be on more for your mornings. What is the preference here? I'd love to hear from you guys. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Any ideas you have, suggestions, preferences, please shoot them my way. I am totally in a space of growth right now, and your ideas are the fuel that I'm looking to have to kind of build this channel and this community into something that's new and unique and fun and uplifting and positive. That's my goal. Okay, so let's just keep pushing on this guy. So we've laid in our lines, and now we want to go ahead and just put the initial tracks down. I just made a decision just now to go ahead and just maybe do some of these lighter lines first, just so I can make sure to do a couple of them and then come in with the dark pen and then really, okay, there we go. So you can see the effect that has, right? I've just created, now the ear, instead of just floating, is shooting out in that direction, right? Blowing out that way, blowing out that way, blowing up that way. And so what we need to do is just make sure that if we're going to do that, give a few grounding lines. So I've laid in the Bic, and just take one of these and just let it be more. It does not have to be a certain shape. It does not have to be a certain density. That's not what this is about. This is about making sure that our eye catches on those action lines. I'm going to go ahead and grab the Micron, and I'm going to hardline this guy because we've already done the Bic. If I was going super realistic, you might see me trying to maybe like have some of the, or if I was trying to go for a cleaner read, let me correct that, I'm not super realistic. If I was trying to go for a cleaner read, you might see me go ahead and take this outline and maybe have the outline have cutouts from the energy so it looks like it's really blowing away, but that's not necessarily a requirement here. This is just that more of that story hook, communicating the action. And I think the action is clear. Go ahead and we're gonna get the earring. I tend to draw myself with my black plugs. I just really enjoy the look of them, the contrast of them. Right now I'm wearing clear plugs, but black is usually what I'll illustrate. It's easy, it reads, it's direct. What you gonna watch, big boy? All right, let's go ahead and start laying some shading into the ear. So the canal, the inside of the canal, obviously is dark. I'm going to start there. That will be my darkest point. So I established that really quick to make sure that for shading, the darkest point inside the ear with this bic will be here. And then everything is just going to kind of brush up from there. And again, I'm not pressing hard. This is the side of the pen. I'm just allowing ink to get on the paper, and I'm just dragging it along with the ballpoint. It's very important that you don't overcommit with the pressure. And this is where the real technique in this comes in. Is it's just about how much weight you put behind your hand, and making sure that you just don't overcommit, because you can't go backwards. I mean, there are ways that you can distract or make it look like, by adjusting the shape or elements around it, you make it look like it's less intentional, but you can't get rid of that big ass black line you put in there. That's just not how it works. And you're going to have to live with whatever you put on paper to some degree. So we're just developing it. Alright, there we go. That's feeling pretty good. Make sure that's on the camera, on the screen. Sorry if I had that off camera. That wasn't very helpful. I'm going to define just a shadow on the top back of the ear. And then just a little bit right there. Now, one thing I didn't do here is I didn't make that kind of porcelain extra lip. And that was actually an accident. But you know what? That's okay. Because whatever. We'll fix it. Right? Nothing we do here, to be honest, I don't even know why it hooked me so much. I don't know how to draw at all. I don't even be able to draw a straight line in a checkered notebook. It's weird, but I'm still here. Jack, you don't have to be a drawer or an artist to be a creative. Right? And in this space, I would love to have creatives. I have friends that are musicians, dancers, poets, photographers, fashion designers, and all of my wife, hairstylist, right? But all of them are creatives in such a profound way that is just beautiful. I can't tell you the sheer amount of inspiration I get from having creatives present to partake in this kind of adventure. If I want to find an artist, I'll go find an artist. If I need to find a specific artist or somebody that I think sees and understands the work, then sure. But that's not why I want to do this. I want to do this because I want to meet everybody, and I want to get everybody's ideas, and I want to hear creativity from points of view that I could not even fathom. In fact, Checker, where are you in the world, just country-wise? Do you feel comfortable letting me know what that is on the stream? And I don't think it's weird that you're here. I think it's amazing that you're here, by the way. Thank you. Thank you for being here. This is the motivation that's allowing me to develop as an artist and as a creative myself. Just this experience is a whole new thing. Such different people, different languages and countries. You have a pen in your hands and I have a weapon. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. You know what, though? I'm sorry that has to be the case. For what it's worth. No judgment. I grew up at times with a weapon in my hand. Unfortunately, that's the way life works sometimes. And sometimes you don't get to choose where you start. You only get to choose where you finish. The best thing you can do is make the choices that are right for you in the moment, that feel right, and hopefully they lead you to something that's a better space and a better fit and a better success for you. And we're extremely lucky where we live that it is not a natural way of life all the time, the threat of violence. I would say that is a vast majority of the world, however, that is a reality for them every single day. And I think that it's one of those things that I also think that influences the artwork and influences the stuff we do. So who knows? But I hope that you're having a safe day wherever you're at. I think that's the most important part. Alright. So we've got our action lines. This is all feeling really good. Let's go ahead and just keep pushing on this. I'm going to let the action lines here define the shape. Again, this is what I was talking about when it comes to really reinforcing that center of action. Everything should reinforce that the point of the point of focus is really that black dot. We have made a visual target for anybody who sees this, and we have said, I want you to look here. And so that's all we're doing, is we're really making sure that that comes through as clear as day. For those of you who are joining me on the stream right now, thank you very much for being here. We're just kind of crushing along, pushing on some ink, developing this piece as we go. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. This is great to have you. If there's anything that you would like to see different, or you think would be a great suggestion for the channel, whether it's content, a style of drawing, a character you'd like to see drawn, or if you just have suggestions or ideas, they are all very welcome. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, and on ArtStation, on YouTube, and on Twitch. I am everywhere. Just go to Google and type in Random Hamilton, and you should have a few options pop out there for you to contact me. All feedback, all suggestions are extremely welcome, extremely wanted. I am looking to build a community of creatives. I'm looking to build an environment where anybody can come and hang out and just enjoy the process of developing ideas. This stream is maybe foundationed on artwork, but that's not the intent. All right, at least that's not the stopping point, right? Artwork will clearly be a part of this process, but it shouldn't be the main reason why it shouldn't be the barometer by which you have to come in at. Stream brings good luck. My old friend Tulsa said he wants to do this himself. Hey, you know what? Luck is always good. I love to be a part. It's great to hear that you get to see an old friend. Old friend from Tulsa. Is that Tulsa, U.S. Tulsa? Is that Tulsa, Oklahoma? Let me think here. Is that right? Tulsa, Oklahoma? Yeah, Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's awesome. Fantastic news, Checker. It's really great to hear that. I love being able to see old friends. It really makes, it's one of those things that grounds us. Okay. All right. Continuing on. I kind of want a really starkly white lightning bolt here. And my son in the background is going, whoa. What you doing, buddy? What you doing, buddy? Oh, goodness. Good job. One second, I'm going to mute. All right, okay. My son is done screaming, whoa, 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 which is good. Although if he hears me say that, he might start again, so I'll just kind of keep that down. Bubba, hey, whoa, 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 whoa. No screaming. Okay, sorry about that, guys. This is going to be, as he gets older, this will all get a lot quieter. We just are learning our words right now. We're really trying not to dissuade him. So volume control hasn't been something we've been trying to bake in. It's mostly been about word exploration, but we will get there. So you notice I keep turning the page, and that's because I really like to make sure to see these details from as many angles as possible. Just make sure I'm really nailing compositionally what I'm trying to go for. Now it's okay that this lightning bolt isn't perfectly white, but I am going to go ahead and come in here with like a little bit of a white ink pen and put down just a little bit of clearness in this space. Check just said, I've always wanted to visit him, see America, but because of my work they won't let me out of the country. That's too bad, man. You know, I think America is pretty great to visit, but I mean, again, I'm American, so I look to other countries that I'd like to visit. But it would be amazing for you to be able to come out and check it out, sir. You know, it's just kind of I think it's always a great experience traveling. I've actually never left the U.S. My wife traveled all over the world. I've actually never been out of the country. It's a big goal of mine to take my son and my wife take us and go around the world and see different places. Seems really appealing to me. Hey, bub. You okay? 1 second, please. Hey. There you go. There you go. You got it. Bye. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, especially if you have the friend in Tulsa, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. I think that's going to be, that'll be an amazing trip when you can finally pull that off. And, you know, hopefully you won't have to start your day with a weapon in your hand every day. I'm assuming your job may be something military related. But again, that's total ignorance and assumption. Hopefully it's something that's positive and not because you're in a position where you have to protect yourself to save your life. And there's plenty of places in the world where that is definitely the reality, which is too bad. So all we're doing is we're going to we're going to reinforce this outer smoke area with a diffuse line. We don't need to hard line all the smoke out here, right? All we're doing is we're following the line work we laid down previously. We're not looking for perfection. Keep that in mind. This is out here. This is not about hitting realism. This is about communicating the core action that's happening in the center. If we can do that, we'll be in really great shape. No, I can't put that on right now. I'll put that on later. Good boy. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. Yeah, I do. Appreciate you. You're awesome. Positive reinforcement for your toddlers. Okay, yeah. Well, you know what, man? I have heard Russia is absolutely gorgeous. I have had friends and coworkers that have been there before, so I would love someday to be able to see the beauties that Russia has to hold. I think that there is some beautiful architecture, art, and just history there that would be a real real boon for any creative to see. Oh, good job. I would hope that for everybody has the opportunity to get out in the world sometime and just expand their understanding of things. I think it's a real positive for anybody. Just getting outside of the environment you're in all the time, especially culturally. There's something to be said about integrating yourself and being able to go and embrace a culture not your own. And not trying to terraform it into something you are familiar with, but also really trying to just embrace it to be its own unique experience. Oh, good job! Nice work! There we go. All right. So all we're doing right now is just creating these areas of shading that kind of define this line of action. Does it matter if it looks like smoke? No, not really. There's going to be other stuff that's more detailed, and we'll have a someday later think about children. Yeah. Hey man, I never thought I was going to have kids. Me and my wife didn't plan on it. And then we had talked about it, and then we decided, let's give it a shot. We didn't think we could have kids, so we tried for 3 years before we were successful. Oh, high five! Yeah, looking good. Where's your mask? But now that he's here, it's amazing. It's the best experience I've had in my entire life as being a father. Hands down, easy, no question. But then again, I didn't have a child until I was 38. So me and my wife had a lot of time together in our marriage and adventures we went on before we ever took that step. So I think I've got a little bit of a luxury that I'm able to have my son as I'm a little older. What's up, buddy? What's wrong? Bring it over here. Is it not working? There you go. All right. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Feeling that? I think that's reading okay. We got the explosion kind of. How old are you, Checker? Just out of curiosity, if you don't mind sharing. Let's see. And yeah, I would say in general, I think a lot of people have kids young, and that's not. There's, if that's your path, if that's what you're feeling, then hey, more power to you. I think we needed to get a little more life under our belts before we took that step. We needed to make sure that we were solid. That's something that I don't think a lot of couples talk about, but a lot of people are together as long as they can kind of keep it to where they always have kind of an out. When you take this path of getting married, even then, you still have a bit of an out. But when you add kids into it, that person's in your life for the rest of your life, whether you like it or not. That is just part of the gig. And I think that for somebody, sometimes when people are too young, oh yeah, you're 24, you got all the time in the world. No rush. Do not rush it. I would, if I were talking to somebody, they were just like, what do you think would be the best age for somebody to have kids? Personally, I don't think you should have kids until after 30. And the reason I say that is because your 20s, for the most part, you're an idiot. I mean, contextually, right? You're an idiot when it comes to longer decisions for the breadth of your life. It doesn't mean that you're incapable of making good decisions. By no means does it mean that you are any smarter or dumber at that age. but you just have not had the wealth of experiences and made the proper, or made enough. Oh, good job. Look. Nice outfit. Yeah. See? Creativity. It comes in many forms. It just so happens that this guy's creative with dressing up in his gear. High five. Good job. Okay, 10 more minutes, buddy. 10 more minutes and we'll play, okay? Keep going. So yeah, so that's let me interrupt my thought there. I think that what allows you to be a good parent is having lived a little life, made some mistakes, and resolved and dealt with what that means later in life. To me, yeah, I mean, obviously, loving your family and the core and support, being able to sustain your family and provide a roof over your head, yeah, that's all important. But until you can be fine with the way that you are, where you're at in life, and just kind of find your happy place, it's hard to think about always putting on a brave face for your kids, right? It's hard to always think about being able to provide the positive atmosphere to encourage their growth, because that's one thing that I've learned the most, which is why I've really taken the step to be a stay-at-home dad. I want to be a stay-at-home dad because I missed the first year of my son being home. I was working in an agency. Something would go wrong with the deadline, something would go wrong with the client. Before you knew it, I wasn't seeing him when he woke up because I had to be at work. I wasn't seeing him when he got to bed because it was too late by the time I was getting home. I was missing entire days of my child's upbringing. And let me tell you, when they're young, every single day is literally a benchmark. Right now, it's almost hourly. The growth and the quickness at which he develops something is scary. And I just realized that when COVID hit and I was forced home, and I was laid off, and I started doing this home thing, I realized that I don't think I'll ever have this chance again. And I don't think I've ever had something that is so absolutely fulfilling. And so then it really came down to all right, what do I have? What are my options for being a stay-at-home dad? And welcome to streaming. That's really what this has become for me. This is my chance to be here, make something, and hopefully with you, grow. New adventures all, right? Okay, so we've really done a lot of development around this space here. I've allowed this outside to get really dark. That's okay. I'm going to try to keep a lot of contrast and openness in here, but the outside's going to dark. Yeah! Oh, nice blippy hat. Good work. Good job. Yeah, I think that's working out pretty good. So, let me go. One thing I'm going to do here is I think I want to go ahead and just allow this guy to go a little dark, just to kind of cut over those teeth and make sure that that doesn't look confounding. You see what I'm talking about? Earlier when we started today, I had this line was in the wrong spot, so we remeasured it, we redrew it, and we just said, you know what, don't worry about it. Those details will fall into the background, and they absolutely have. The depth of those lines are just pretty much gone at this point. And all we're doing is we're just trying to tell the eye where specifically we want it to look. The eye's going to look where the eye's going to look. You can't control that. But we can encourage it through contrast and good visual planning to follow a very specific and prescribed path. And that's what we're doing right now. I think this will be a lot of... Well, 1 second, please. My fear is that my family will see me several times a year thanks to work. I think that's a reality for a lot of people, right? How many people do you know, whether you're an officer, firefighter, EMT, a doctor? Most careers around the world require you to be outside of the home, require you to be at a place of work. There's a reason why I'm doing this specifically, because I can be at home, right? if I wanted to go get the next job that would be pushing me towards my career, I would just go work at Nike. You know, I'd go work at Adidas. I've done work for them for many years. They're here in Portland. You know, and that's just a reality, which is exactly why I'm here doing this, because I want to be home. Not everybody will have this option, and who even knows it'll work for me. I may grind out what little goodwill I've been able to earn and not make enough money, and I have to go back to the workforce and put my son in daycare. We'll see. My goal is not to have that happen, but I can't tell you if it's going to happen or not. Just got to work really hard and see if I can make this work. And hopefully everybody has the opportunity to take jumps into unfamiliar territory like that. That's what it's about, you know, giving it a shot, trying to build something, trying to make something that it fits the more ideal that you picture for yourself. Yeah, I worked on the Hot Wheels key art for 2013 and 2014. The key art is the piece of art that defines the larger visual package for the whole launch. So yeah, I got to go out to Mattel and work on site with them. I've worked on some Lego projects. Worked with Lego. 1 second, please. Yeah. So Hot Wheels is really fun. It's kind of a combination of some 3D models, a lot of digital painting, and then a lot of just meshing everything together. Lots of fun, all Photoshop. That was about 6 years ago. No, God, it's longer than that. It was like 8 years ago. Thank you very much. Yeah. You know, I think that when people see this kind of art, they really get a quick read of what they think I can produce, and that's fine. But if you go to my art station, you'll see that I've got a much bigger, broad range of art, and that's you know, I come from a really varied background, and I think that's why I create the art I do, because I've been kind of stuck into the formal 3D world, the formal art world, the formal retail world, and these days I just want to kind of create and have a good time and just see what comes up. And again, Checker, thank you so much. That's a great compliment. That's, you know, I can't take all the credit. When I was working on that, I was working on a team of 3 other artists. We would all work on different assets. We'd mesh them together, so it was a very collaborative environment. But yeah, those kind of key visuals. That piece of artwork, scale-wise, is about 1200 DPI, so it's pretty massive. We really got in there with those details. All right. So, let's see. Yeah, Bubba. All right, where am I at? I kind of lost my place. All right. Let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and finish just getting this guy lined in, and then I think I'm going to go ahead and take a break and get this guy outside. He needs to get a walk in. He's very energy filled. But for those who are here with me, Checker, I know it's probably late for you, so I probably won't see you tonight, but if I do, awesome. If not, please shoot me your ideas. I would love to hear some ideas that you'd like design-wise for a tattoo. We could totally design it here on the stream. I'd be super down. So just shoot those over to me. You can even contact me on ArtStation if you'd like. Wherever you'd like to contact me, go ahead and reach out. I would love to do a piece for you. You've been amazing as a support, and I'd love to show that appreciation. For everybody else who's here with me, please stop by a little later. I'll be on from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And we're just going to keep pushing on this piece of art. We're going to knock this guy out this week, and then we'll, for context for next week, my wife has asked me to do something a little more fun and positive. She feels like my last couple of pieces have been a little dark. I haven't intended on them being dark, but I get what she's saying. So the design brief I've gotten so far is it has to incorporate flowers, it has to be positive, and that's it. So it's going to be a fun game of exploration, seeing what we can kind of pull together. So, all right, I think this might be a good place to call it. I got to wear this guy out. I'll be back this afternoon, guys. thank you so much for being here. You're amazing. I really appreciate it. You're the reason I'm here. So thank you. Schechter, if I don't talk to you before the end of the day, I hope you have an amazing evening. Get some great sleep. And I look forward to you being able to pop in the next time and see where we're at. Everybody, have an amazing afternoon. I hope your Tuesday's kicking off well. And we'll talk to you later. You gonna say bye? Bye. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.